Well, hello there, and welcome to this episode of the Terri Show. I want to start with a question. Are you the person that everybody comes to when there's a problem? Are you like me? Like, I've been much of my life, healthier now, but still, sort of, you have a cape hanging in your closet where you kind of put it on. You're good in a crisis. People in the family come to you, other people come to you, or you're sort of looking for people to save. Yeah, that's what we're talking about in this entire episode is basically from savior to supporter, right? What is the difference between the two? And I'm going to be sharing ideas and tips, strategies with you. If you're someone who is sort of putting yourself in that savior role, you've got that savior complex, I promise you it's not great for your relationships. And how can you actually become authentically supportive rather than taking on the role of savior? So that's what we're doing today. So if you happen to be new here, my name is Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a relationship expert, and the author of Boundary Boss and Too Much, a guide to breaking the cycle of high-functioning codependency, which you can get at hfcbook.com. Yes, you can. Also, about 69% of you watching this video right now, this very moment in time, are not subscribed. Why not? Go do it right now. Subscribe. It's free. It will cost you nothing. Also, hit the bell icon so that you will get notified every time I roll out new stuff, which is every Tuesday and every Thursday. Seeing as how I make it for you, I would like you to not miss it. And really, it's the best way to support the show. If you hang out here, if you like this YouTube channel, please subscribe. Hit the bell icon. Hey, man, I wouldn't want you to miss all the things I'm doing for you. And thank you so much for being here. All right, let's move it on into today's episode. From savior to supporter. So what is the essential shift that can change everything? Well, there's a couple of stuff. So I want you to think about your own behavior right now. Have you ever wondered why trying to save people often backfires? Like, think about interventions you've tried to do for people, right? No matter how pure your intentions are, like your heart could absolutely be 100% in the right place. Because let's think about it. At least I could think about my own life. At first, when I'm thinking about saving someone, it feels kind of noble, right? Almost heroic, right? You step in, you fix it, you rescue, you've got the answer. But over time, there's a truth that gets revealed through this process, that saving someone often robs them of their own power. And in our own way, we are trampling on their autonomy, their sovereignty, their right to kind of, you know that hashtag that's going around, let me live. It's sort of getting in the way of letting people live the way they want to live. So instead of healing our relationships, instead of having our careers be better or our families be better, playing the savior really often tramples boundaries, right? Fosters dependency and leaves both sides feeling frustrated, resentful, and exhausted. It really is a bad cycle to get into, and trust me, I know from personal experience. So it's time to rethink what real support means and make that brave shift, because you can do it. I've done it, so I know that you can. And here's the thing, if you identify with this, don't feel bad. I have no doubt your heart is in the right place. So was mine. But intention doesn't negate impact, as they say. So it's not about making you wrong. It's about how can we be supportive in a more healthy way, which benefits us and benefits the people that we love. Part of the problem with giving up the savior role is that it kind of feels good, right? At least for a while. It feeds this like a deep need to be needed. But what else does it do when you're a high-functioning codependent and people are in pain? And when you're an empath and people are in pain, we don't like that. So the savior role is also self-serving, right? If we looked at the secondary gain of like why we're doing it, what does it do for us? Well, if I can solve your problem, it helps me feel less out of control around your pain or around your suffering. So a lot of times as sort of hyper helpers or savior complex people, we end up in careers just like I did, caregiving, counseling, emergency response, right? And again, There's nothing wrong with that, but we have to sort of look at what the motives are, at least some of the motives, right? Because I feel like as humans, listen, you guys, we're complex. It can be both. I can want to be a therapist because I care about humanity and want to help people lessen their own suffering and elevate their own joy, and that is true. And I can also be uncomfortable with people's pain, and it can make me feel like I'm doing something by being a therapist around controlling other people's outcomes in my own way. Think about, do you constantly fix sort of family members' situation before they even ask? Do you feel anxious or guilty when others struggle? Right? Do you rush over to smooth things over? It's interesting. One of my friends, I was in her apartment with she and her husband, and literally on another floor in this building, a friend of theirs had just passed away. He had been ill. And when the husband came up to basically tell us, I said, "What happened?" Meaning asking him to tell us, what was the scene? What did he see? It looked like he needed to talk. He was upset. And he started to talk, but he started to cry, to get emotional. And his wife ran over and hugged him. But what she did was she stopped his communication, and he didn't continue the story. And I knew what was happening, that she was uncomfortable with his emotional pain. And so she went to soothe him. But again, what are we doing? We're cutting off intimacy. We are controlling, right? She couldn't tolerate his pain. So she controlled it by running over and hugging him, which then interrupted what he was saying. Now, am I saying that my friend is mean or bad? Of course not. But we have to look at, what is the cost of being in this position? You have to think about saving often serves the savior more than the saved, just like in that example. And another thing that saving can do, which really was a bitter pill for me to swallow when I sort of started seeing this about myself in my late 20s, early 30s, is the message that we're giving is, you can't do this without me. I don't think you can do this. I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna save because you need to be saved. So, right, that's what you're saying. When you save someone, you're implicitly telling them they're broken, they're incapable, they're less than in some way. And over time, especially if you're doing this to children, they believe you, right? Which is obviously unintentional, but you're unintentionally reinforcing the very helplessness that you hoped to heal. So it doesn't work, is the point. So let's try to compare. Let's compare and contrast, shall we? Savior versus supporter. So savior solves problems for other people. Supporter empowers others to solve their own problem. Savior assumes they know what's best. Supporter trusts others to know themselves best. Savior feels responsible for outcomes. Supporter respects other people's autonomy. Savior crosses emotional boundaries. Supporter honors personal boundaries. Like, you're right, as I love to say. People have a right to succeed and fail, to thrive and to flail. And when we are saviors, we don't like people flailing. Just like how HFCs, we don't like people flailing. It makes us uncomfortable. Honoring people's right to succeed or fail, to thrive or flail, is being a supporter and not a savior. A savior gains identity from being needed, and a supporter gains fulfillment from mutual growth, right? Where you're both growing. Because what is the savior saying? Let me fix you. And the supporter is saying, I believe in your ability to fix yourself, and I'm here if you want a hand, or if you need to be compassionately witnessed, or if you want someone in the foxhole with you during your dark night of the soul, rather than fixing you. Because one creates dependency and the other nurtures resiliency, which is what we want to do as supporters, right? As a supporter, you're nurturing the other person's resilience, their ability to get it done in their own life. And everyone has a right, and we all have to grow to that point. But how do we do it? Through experiences. So why is it that some of us more naturally fall into this role of savior? Part of it could be because at some point we needed saving. A lot of times we are showing up for people the way that we wished others had showed up for us. Or maybe we learned early on in life that love has to be earned through usefulness, certainly high-functioning codependence. We put a high value on us being useful in other people's lives. Maybe we just want to matter, but saving other people is not the path to healing our own wounds for sure, right? It only digs them deeper, right? It just spreads the pain around when we are not being healthy ourselves, when we think we know what's best for other people. The real work, what is it? Learning to sit with other struggles without rushing to erase them, to offer presence instead of prescriptions. I feel like that should be a t-shirt right now because it's the truth. Can we value our own presence? This is what you want when you are upset. Someone's presence. This is what I want when I am upset. I want someone to witness me with compassion, to have faith that I'm going to figure it out. So let's move into, what does real support look like? Listening deeply without jumping in, asking consent before offering help, asking expansive questions so the person knows that you're interested and you're really helping them figure out what they think they should do about their problem, trusting the other person's timing, even if it's slower than yours would be or slower than you like, let's just say, being a cheerleader for their victories, right? No matter how small, like helping them see where there's growth in a positive way and allowing them to fail, because that's how real growth happens. And it's not for you to disallow them to fail. It's not your situation, even though, I don't know, for years in my life, I felt like everyone else's situation was my situation. So you guys know, when I talk about all of these things, I talk about it from a very personal point of view, and I'm never sitting in judgment of you, because I know your heart is in the right place, because I know mine was, you know? Support says, I see your strength, even when you don't. I trust your path, even when it looks messy, and I'm beside you, but this journey is yours. It belongs to you. So there's a real respect for the other person's autonomy. And it really means managing the crap out of your own nervous system, your own reactivity, your own activation points. Why is it so hard? In the guide, don't worry, all this stuff will be in the guide. You can go to terricole.com/guide. But I'll give you a few questions that you can answer to give clarity, maybe to why it's so hard for you to sit with other people's pain. And I had so many reasons when I started really doing this work in my late 20s of having this deep understanding of how I never learned how to sit with someone's pain. It was so overwhelmingly painful that it took years in therapy to be like, okay, it's not on me. I mean, it was not until my late 20s, really, that I even started really honestly chipping away at my high-functioning codependent patterns in relationships, which of course are relational patterns, which is exactly what being a savior or being a supporter. We're talking about changing this relational pattern. We have to have pattern interruptions. We have to have things that help us get out of that groove. So how do you break free, right? How do you break free from this? Because even though it can feel powerful to rescue people, it's not true power. It's fleeting, because true power lasts, right? It comes from standing beside, not holding up or standing over. Standing beside, right? It's just like interdependency. Why we want that rather than hyper-independence or rather than codependency. We want interdependency. So this shift from savior to supporter can be subtle, but it's still massive in your life, right? And for you, I mean, it demands a certain amount of humility and patience and deep respect for the people that you love, lead, and care for, right? It asks you to believe in their wholeness, in their potential, in their ability, even when it's hidden under this layer of pain. So I want you to think about your own life. How else can you make this shift? What other behaviors? Part of it is having the deep understanding of why it's hard, and that's okay. You don't have to make yourself wrong about it. But how do you want to be? What kind of relationships do you want? Because the hidden underbelly of being a savior is feeling unseen yourself, right? It's like you have a public face that if I'm of value, if I'm bringing value, if I'm helping, if I'm saving, if I'm doing, if I have ideas, if I have thoughts. Recently, I heard from someone in our community, and in the book, I write about if you barely know someone who's going through something and you feel compelled to, get a food, like a meal train going for someone who's going through something, even though you barely know them, because there's got to be closer people in their lives, and it's making assumptions that they even want you to do that. And this woman wrote in and said, wow, I cannot believe how much that resonated with me. I feel like I have such a savior complex. Right now, I am heading up 11 meal trains for people. And for 4 of those people, I don't know well at all. And that's a perfect example of feeling so identified with the savior role, so compelled, like it's a compulsion to have to do something. And when you do it like that, there's no time to focus on you, right? So that underbelly of feeling resentful or unknown or unseen, part of this process of going from savior to supporter is that there'll be more bandwidth for you to relate authentically to the people in your life that you love. Treating people as projects, which is what happens when we are super identified in this savior complex. It's like, who can I save? You think about it from a romantic point of view, and I was the queen of this when I was younger, is I would attract all the broken-winged birds in relationships. I couldn't wait to fix up their wing, and then they would fly away. Always seeing someone's potential, but then feeling responsible for making that potential happen. Again, saving them from their under-functioning ways or whatever it is that I thought I was doing. But it made them resent me, and it made me resent them. So it's definitely not a winning formula, and you deserve so much more. And so do the people in your life. So I would love to know if this episode of the Terri Cole Show resonated with you. If you're willing to take any of the suggestions that I created for you in the guide, go to terricole.com/guide. If you're exhausted from being in that savior role, and if you are, this is me giving you permission to hang up that cape, right? We want relationships that are interdependent, not codependent, which really is what we're talking about. So I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I hope you guys have the most amazing week. And as always, take care of you.